Must thank you, Captain, for inviting me on the show. That nefarious Wookiee that I left here many years ago has fallen afoul of the censorship.
From high atop the battlements of Castle Curmudgeon, where we stand proudly with Fannie Willis by coming to work with our clothes on backward. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America and all ships at sea. Welcome to the Blast Radius. Here's your Decline of Western Civilization News Roundup. Or, in honor of Fannie Willis Backward Day, should we call it the Roundup News Civilization Western of Decline? Dateline Memphis, Monday, 12 February. Representative Steve Cohen, Democrat of Tennessee, and totally not a paternalist at all. And how dare you make any intimation to the contrary? Mr. Not Necessarily a News Anchor, took to Twitter this week to register his indignant, frothy-mouthed rage over the fact that not enough people at the Super Bowl stood up during the singing of what he called, Mr. Cohen said this, the Negro National Anthem. Again, YouTube, just so we're clear, those are the words of the sensitive liberal Democrat congressman, and not me. Now, this guy, for reasons that are not immediately clear to your humble correspondent, actually thought it would be okay to use the term Negro National Anthem on Twitter with the intention of intimating that other people are racist. And is it just me, ladies and gentlemen, or have Democrat elected officials seemingly been lining up to douse themselves in gasoline and set themselves alight these last couple weeks? And I guess the answer to that question is self-evident in the fact that I am currently wearing my clothes backward. And not just some of my clothes either, in case you were wondering. But you know what I say? I say Mr. Cohen doesn't go far enough. I say let's dispense with the silly football game altogether and make Super Bowl Sunday a big cavalcade of national anthems for every demographic special interest group that exists from sea to shining sea. It'll be great. First, we'll have the White Cracker Peckerwood National Anthem, because, obviously... And then we'll have the Negro National Anthem, and then the Greaser National Anthem, and then the Indigenous Noble Savage National Anthem, and then the Illegal Alien National Anthem, and then the Crippled National Anthem, which has no words or music since we don't want to exclude deaf or blind people. Then we'll have the Zipperhead National Anthem. In fact, hell, let's have a national anthem for every pejorative term that you used to think was a racial slur, but which Steve Cohen, through his boldly unconventional use of the term, Negro national anthem has now put safely in play, and bless his heart for that. Dateline, Washington, Tuesday, 13 February. Homeland Security Secretary, enemy saboteur, and skin-suited reptilian space alien Alejandro Mayorkas made history this week, becoming only the second cabinet secretary in the history of the Republic to be impeached by the House of Representatives. And who was the first, you ask? William Belknap, Secretary of War under President Ulysses S. Grant, impeached in 1876 during an election year when he was a lame duck anyway. So you might say the two impeachments have more than a little bit in common. Except Belknap at least had the basic decency to resign his office immediately after the impeachment resolution was passed, which is far more than we ever ought to expect from the enemy saboteur Mayorkas. And besides, it's difficult even knowing what's the best basis on which to impeach him. If, for example, he was telling the truth all those times he went before Congress and stated under oath, under pain of perjury, that he is engaged in a good faith effort to enforce the laws of the United States to the best of his ability, well, then he should be impeached for being the most shockingly incompetent officer in the history of the U.S. government, or any other government, for that matter. If, on the other hand, he's been engaged in the intentional non-enforcement of the laws that he swore a solemn oath to uphold, well, then he should be impeached as a serial perjurer and the enemy saboteur that we all know he is. Take your pick, I guess. Dateline Anaheim, Wednesday, 14 February. In a 2-year-old bit of video that confirmed everything we already suspected, and don't you hate it when that happens, Disney CEO Bob Iger announced in the days after the insurrection of 6 January 2021 that Disney was going to be jumping headlong into the political wars after having already jumped well into the culture wars by that point. And here's a poll question, as a matter of fact. Give me your answers in the chat. If you were running Disney early in 2021 and someone came to you like you were Richard Pryor in Brewster's Millions, and they said, if you can crash Disney's stock price by 40% in the next 3 years, you win eternal life. Would you do anything different than what Disney has actually done in reality? If there was a conscious decision made at the boardroom level to stop being a for-profit company and sacrifice a century of hard-earned brand loyalty on the altar of woke identity politics, would it look any different from the reality that we have all watched unfold right before our very eyes? And here's the Bob Iger quote from the leaked video. Quote, "We've tended to shy away from politics, and in doing so, I think we've shied away from talking about issues that aren't political at all. Because we believe in doing so, maybe it looks like we're taking a stand. Well, in that reality, we should be taking a stand. I think that we have to be less cautious, as Bob Chapek was just alluding to about such things, and not be concerned. Just commenting about what happened last week in Washington on January 6th, that's not political. We know that what we saw was fundamentally wrong, and that it was rooted in hatred and intolerance. We should feel free as a company to comment about that without retribution," end quote. If I'm not mistaken, Disney stock was trading at around $180 a share on the day of that video. Today, $111. So 40%, give or take. It's almost like when you throw your support behind one side of the most divisive political issues of the day, the other side, they don't want to buy your products anymore all that much, especially when your products suck. And more on that in the main segment, because I am reliably informed that my co-host is unhappy with me for making him watch the Marvels. Stay tuned. Dateline Atlanta, Thursday, 15 February. Now look, since there's really no way to say what I need to say while abiding by the standards of chivalry that the audience has come to expect, I'm going to need, for about 10 seconds, the female viewers to look away and plug their ears, and the male viewers need to bring it in so we can talk. The 10 seconds begin right now. All right, now that it's just us guys. You know that unmistakable expression on a man gets on his face when he's been doing it with a fat chick and he really doesn't want his friends to find out, but his friends just found out? That was about 10 seconds, right? The point being, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Nathan Wade, Esquire, attorney at law, a man who, if we can judge only by his public deportment, is not very thrilled with the deal he made for himself. And what might that deal have been? Well, we don't like to engage in wild, unfounded speculation on this program, but you know what we are willing to do? We are willing to make certain reasonable surmises that are permitted by the known fact pattern and the sworn testimony of the parties in question, as the conventions of honest journalism very much do allow us to do. And here, we have a known fact pattern that says, and do please feel free to check my math on this, potentially it says that Mr. Wade was offered money, favors, gifts, and professional advancement in exchange for providing sexual favors to the district attorney. Because look, nobody's really been willing to come out and say this, but that's why we have this program, isn't it? Just take a look at Nathan Wade and then take a look at Fannie Willis, and you tell me he's in it just for the sex. But you can't do it because he's not. That simply isn't possible. I imagine Mr. Wade doesn't have much trouble at all finding women to keep time with who are more attractive than Fannie Willis. With her dress on backward or frontward, I don't really give a damn. And do I have a working theory on the mystery of the backward dress? You bet your sweet ass I do. Stay tuned for that in the main segment. Dateline Vatican City, Friday, 16 February. The Pope, the Pontifex Maximus, the Bishop of Rome, the Vicar of Christ. The artist we lovingly know on this program as Good Woke Frank I. He asserted his firm belief this week that while hell does indeed exist, he thinks and hopes that the place is probably empty. Which, look, I'm not a man who has any dog in the religion race, but doesn't that kind of take a lot of the bite out of Catholicism? Isn't the threat of eternal damnation one of the very wellsprings of pontifical authority? And what are the nuns in Catholic schools supposed to do if they don't have the threat of hell to use as a cudgel with which to leverage good behavior? Has the whole fucking world gone mad? And you know what else takes a lot of getting used to? Being an irreligious man who finds himself consistently to the right of the current pope. It's kind of a big adjustment, is all I'm saying. But you know what I might say if I was a little Catholic kid on seeing the news that the Pope thinks hell is an empty domain with a population of 0? I might say, Mommy, did the Pope just say Hitler is in heaven, or am I getting this wrong? And here ends the decline of Western civilization news roundup for this past week. May it rest in peace. And with that, I pass the baton to my illustrious co-host, the lovely, the talented, the venerable, the one and only, your friend and mine, Grand Admiral Snowflake.
Tactical nuke incoming!
Captain, we discussed this before the show. I am Grande Admiral Snowflake, and get it right.
Did I say? I actually was reminding myself before we went on to say Grande. I dropped the ball on that one. I do apologize.
Obviously, and as well you should. For I found.
Pardon me as I step aside for a moment and put my shirt on the right way.
Of course. I have found this a very difficult show to attend. You see, the Wookiee made me watch the Marvels. 4 hours. It took me 4 hours to get through that darn thing, and I hate every second that you made. I wasted, actually, no, 45 minutes of that 4 hours was actually useful. That was the time it took to go get the rum that I would use to kill the brain cells that witnessed that freaking calamity. We'll get to that in the main segment. Let's do this.
Is well short of 2 hours long, but it might as well be hours because you feel every single one of those minutes, man.
It's hardcore, man. Like, no, we'll get to it. We'll get to it, man. But first, Fannie Mae. Nope, sorry, Fannie Willis. Yeah, that was 20 years ago.
Fast talking Fannie, and there's that zipper going right up the middle of her chest. How did look official wind up going on camera with her dress on backward? Your guess is as good as mine. I would say that there are certainly are things that we could potentially to the known fact pattern that might speak to kind of an outstanding, excellent, totally non-psycho boss she is as well. But yeah, she wound up out there with her fucking dress on backward, which really I think did a lot to bolster her credibility in the eyes of the court and in the eyes of the American people more broadly. What think you, Admiral?
I am very curious what series of events might have led up to her walking out there stating that she was excited to cocaine is behind this. I blame drugs.
And you might not be far off.
She
because
doesn't
there is no rational explanation, I think, for why for her to have done what she did. Obviously, she thought that Nathan Wade shit the bed pretty badly when he was testifying, as you know. But I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. But so something about his testimony went so badly that she felt impelled to throw her dress on backward and run downstairs and demand to testify. And then she, like I said, she basically doused herself with gasoline and set herself alight. If this was her idea of presenting herself as a noble and level-headed public servant, let's say it had the opposite of the desired effect.
The Barbara Streisand effect.
Yes, that's yep.
So here's my theory. I like it. I like where your head's at. I think that's a really good angle. But given the recent history that we are literally here on trial about, like having a hearing about, is it not possible that she had her dress off for other reasons?
I think that would have to be a possibility. I don't think you can discount that. Because a person has to have gotten dressed pretty hastily to have their dress on backward as a female.
Because a regular guy won't do what they're told, Smoking Auditor. She's not paying for some random dude, to go on cruises with her and whatnot. She wants a large.
Yeah, she wants the guy she wants.
She wants that man, and she's willing to cough up whatever it takes to get it. I mean, homie is involved in one of the biggest cases, possibly one of the biggest, most ridiculous cases of this century. And we're in the very beginning of this century.
And I grew up in a world, as you folks might have too, where I always thought it was bad for a high-ranking public official to use promises of money and gifts and professional advancement as a means of leveraging sex from their subordinates. But I guess that's just a rule that only applies to white men, and who knew? I'm glad to have been educated.
I mean, checks out.
Because doesn't it look very, very much like that's what's been going on here?
All right. Can I draw?
Doesn't Nathan Wade look to you like a man who entered into a deal that he might wish that he hadn't have entered into?
I don't know. I kind of feel like he's sitting over there going, "Laugh all you want. I got $500 million out of it." That girl,
which is true. And the other side of that coin is that everybody has to know that he had sex with that woman.
Okay. Hell, you could know I had sex with that woman as soon as the check clears. I'll even tell my wife about it.
And I mean,
seriously,
I don't know. I don't have any insight, obviously, into how flattering that dress might look on her when she's actually wearing it the right way forward, but backward. Let's just say it doesn't do her any favors.
I know why it's backwards. She Monica Lewinsky'd the front of it.
Oh, damn. Did we just crack the case?
Maybe. But I want to draw an analogy between this woman and another woman that's recently been in the news. And I didn't go get any imagery for this because I only thought about it in your opening segment. Which is why they're not necessarily the news banner was still Jesus Christ. Okay, yeah, I am an amateur at this. The Wookiee made me do it. So
best producer in the business, ladies and gentlemen.
So Tiffany, what's her name? The mayor in Illinois that has been just robbing the local homestead blind. Have you seen any of that story?
Mm-mm.
All right. So in Illinois, there is this chick. She calls herself Super Mayor. Give me 2 seconds and I'll show you her face. So, like, Super Mayor is over here. She's using, allegedly, right? She's using taxpayer funds to put up billboards about herself. And she's promoting all kinds of different weird little businesses and whatnot. And because I really like to promote people, we're going to go with the actual Justice Warriors version. And I'm after a single picture of this chick. Oh my God, she is a terrible person. I don't like her as an individual. All right, we'll use this picture because I think it really sells her as the Superman.
Wow.
She was shattering windows. This is convicted. This happened. She was shattering windows and stealing stuff out of people's cars. And got arrested for it. And later went
How have I not heard about this?
Went on to become a city councilman. And then later she became mayor of Tiffany Henyard. She is the mayor of Dalton, which is a small town in Illinois, of course.
You know, hasn't the first 60 years of affirmative action really worked out great? I think we should do it for another 60, frankly.
I kind of feel like it's really starting to get into its stride now.
Yeah, I feel like installing people into important posts of elected office due solely to their skin color and genitalia is really pushing us in the right direction as a society, and we need to stick with it, by God.
Well, I tell you what I think, Captain. Until there is a blue president, I don't want to hear any more Papa Smurf for president.
There is no justice until the president is a one-legged midget albino Eskimo. God damn it.
With a basket weaving gender studies degree. So
Well, that goes without saying.
Sorry, I interrupted your bit. Let's go back to this chick. Nope, not that chick. This chick. Nope, not that chick. This chick. There's a chick over here somewhere. That chick. I think, allegedly, a chick. Backwards dress, huh?
Of course, I guess it's if you need to get naked really fast, it is more expedient to have your dress on backward where you can get right to that zipper, right?
No, man.
And maybe she had some important business to attend to when she got back to the office.
There's another feature here. When she first shows up, she's out of breath. She is like full on huffing when she first comes in and sits down, but they edited it down to where she first starts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
She's still got a high shine going. Right now,
yeah, you could see her like half jogging into the room on the piece of footage that I saw.
I tell you what, she's that face right there.
So imperious.
This is the face of a woman who absolutely believes she has the entire weight of the DOJ behind her for protection. Look at that.
Yes. That is the face of a woman who is fully convinced that she runs the world.
I have this syndrome that I refer to. I used to call it old lady syndrome, but really it's old mother syndrome, where women in a position of power, or mothers for that matter, grandmothers, if you will, talk down to people around them so much and get so used to it that when they encounter a situation they don't actually have control over, they don't know how to register it. This is why you have little old ladies trying to beat up cops and stuff, because they don't.
And the only thing they know how to be is condescending.
Well, condescending and correct, because they said so. And mama says so is a good enough reason for you to shut up and just do it, because it's easier to do that, because if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. That's the face.
And she goes in there acting like she is so righteously, indignantly offended that anybody would even though she's doing this of her own volition, that anybody should demand of her an explanation for lavishing gifts and cash on a guy that she's basically blackmailing to have sex with her, allegedly. That's just my version.
hypothetically in another
Hypothetically.
universe. So another thing that kind of weirds me out, she's wearing this American flag pin over here.
Yes,
Have
and
you
her flag pin
noticed
is upside down. Good call.
Yeah. I was wondering if you caught that bit.
Yeah, well, I think Body Language Ghost actually opened up the video with a close up of the dress zipper and the misaligned flag pin. Or maybe I know she mentioned it right at the beginning.
Yes,
maybe
she
she didn't
mentioned
show
it.
it. Maybe it was someplace else that I saw the close up.
But there's also a ton of other like things in this case. Like anytime she starts moving her hands around, she looks like she wants to throw stuff at people. Like the way she's doing, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, she is as hostile as you will ever see a person on a witness stand. And the judge lets her get away with just an astounding amount of stuff.
I believe
He
she
almost-
could have pulled out a stiletto knife and knifed that freaking prosecutor, and they would have went and got somebody else to take his place.
I mean, the judge basically allowed himself to be emasculated by her grandstanding. Is the way I saw it go down.
But at the same time, in the process of this, she confesses to what, 2 felonies and some aspect of money
Yeah,
laundering?
do you like how she casually throws in that she committed a campaign finance violation? Oh, I kept a bunch of cash from my campaign and put that in my house too.
Right?
And nobody even asked her that, and she just freely volunteers that she committed a very serious felony. So yeah, there was all kinds of fun hijinks happening in Fulton County on Thursday, baby.
So if you haven't seen this, I first of all, I would advise anyone to go check it out, but it's worth the watch.
Absolutely, watch the whole thing. It is worth it. And also, while I'm thinking of it, Jason Whitlock did a special edition of his podcast yesterday that was an entire hour about just how shameful it is for Black women to act this way and for other Black people to hold it up as a positive example of how Black women should act. I recommend that podcast. Can't do it highly enough.
Noted. Another aspect of this that bothered me, and I know it's kind of like beating a dead horse at this point, and we'll move on to the next bit. Okay, imagine any other person on earth. Imagine if Dave Chappelle went into that courtroom and tried that. Imagine you tried it. What would have happened to you?
The judge would have had me hauled off and put in leg irons and spending the night in the county courthouse jail.
Right? You would be remanded to custody and brought back.
Yes,
the next
because that is exactly what she deserved to have happen with the antics that she engaged in on the stand.
That's assuming that you didn't get 30 days out the box, because I mean, you are in California, bro. So, all right. I think that's enough of her. Let's do something, anything other than that.
And obviously, when you go on a cruise to Belize, you take an entire purse full of big stacks of cash.
Everybody go check out the Super Mayor. She is really, really eyeballs deep into absolutely everything that could possibly be wrong with the system.
I want to see a closer up picture of her. I want to see how beautiful she is.
Well, hold on, I'll find her. There she
is.
Sir, all right. So that's her at the most recent town council meeting where she has. All right, they changed the location of the meeting, or I can't remember how it happened, but she
does not look happy.
She's not. She has been accused of hijacking like $120,000 from various sources. She has used public funds for all kinds of different promotional stuff for businesses all over the city, and a new initiative to promote certain types of businesses utilizing her face. And coming into an election year, she was also using election funds for various other slushy enterprises, allegedly. And also,
the people coming after her, they are just threatened by a strong, powerful woman of color.
Exactly. And this council, this particular council is like 3/4 black. There's like a Mexican also on the council, and they are coming with pitchforks and freaking torches. And that's not the rough part. The city just got the bill for all 6 of the county cruisers. Not one payment has been made. But she got a Tahoe that is like the bomb, bro. And the interest on that Tahoe would pay off the freaking police cruisers, as I understand, would make the payments for the cruisers, just the interest.
Queenbird raises a salient point about how Mr. Wade, Esquire, attorney at law, pointed out that the Belize trip was a gift for him, which I just want to say, as a man who has a 50th birthday coming up himself in a few months, I'm totally in favor of my boss taking me to Belize. Just putting it out there.
Okay, here's another bit.
Sexual favors, maybe there might not be any of those forthcoming.
Right. So, in honor of the Acorn cop in Florida who was shot by a local squirrel,
I love the Acorn cop. I just found out about the Acorn cop in the last hour, and I'm so excited.
Quote: "Shots fired. I'm hit." My man hallucinated. Now, I really, really wish he'd have stuck around long enough to get a drug test, because if he was on something, this totally makes sense suddenly.
And there's so many layers to this thing. I mean, not only does he make an ass of himself by thinking that he's been shot when he hears an acorn hit his car or whatever it was, he falls on the ground and pulls out his sidearm and just starts shooting at things. What things? Who knows?
His car. He shot at his own car. He had just stuck a 22-year-old, innocent, as far as I could tell, black man in the back of his car for hanging out outside of somebody's place for some reason. He did not frisk the man before he put him in the car. And so when the acorn either hit, and this is a debate, no one really knows what happened here, the top of the car or him, his response was to draw down and mag dump the vehicle.
Smoking Auditor says Acorn Cop was an officer in the Special Forces. Are you freaking serious?
He better have been, because that's the only way he's going to live this shit down, is if he can scream PTSD. That'll work. I had not thought of that.
Yeah, I guess that's the only possible defense there could be. Otherwise, man, you gotta change careers and change locations and change everything.
Dude, I'm telling you, I would move to a ranch in Upper Wyoming in the middle of absolutely nowhere and raise hedgehogs or some shit, like something nobody wants.
Get yourself a home studio, become a YouTuber, live in the middle of nowhere, change your name, don't talk about law enforcement stuff, and sue anybody who accuses you of being Acorn Cop.
Acorn Cop. By the way, the memes are brought to us by Acorn Stash. Feel free to go check him out. He's doing a meme channel. He has an absolutely magnificent voice. Listen to this dude's voice.
Do not make a necklace out of it. The moment that my childhood was ruined. There's many of the 69.
Right. I told him to go get a job reading books if he wants to make money, but he seems to be doing pretty good on YouTube so far.
Yeah, well, he does have a really good voiceover voice. No doubt about that.
He deserves it. He's been doing the work. He puts up a video every couple of days, and they're always great. And most meme channels eventually end up recycling memes because they couldn't find any new ones that week. So far, right. I've see him reuse a meme except for as a transition shot. So if he's going from one topic to another, he'll just throw a random one in there, and I love it. I love it because it's like a palate cleanser.
Yeah, that's a hell of a lot of work finding new ones every day, man. That's
the
kind of work I don't have in me. That's for damn sure.
He has a really dry sense of humor, and so his dialogue along with it kind of works well too. Anyway,
Yeah, and he's got it totally dialed in with the voiceover presentation, I think. Are we able to hear the angry mayor lady? I want to hear what she says.
oh my God, I can make that happen. This is the way it works, folks. Check it out. You see, you go in here, you go to your search, and you look up Super Mayor, you hit enter. And the next thing you know,
Boom. And that's how you internet, boys and girls.
yeah, congratulations. We're going to go back to specifically the actual Justice Warriors version of this because I love his take on it. And if you don't, we can fight later. Yeah, here we go.
In power. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, that's not a joke.
Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. Oh man. Like that was only a 2-second snippet and it was so worth it.
Y'all black. Y'all are black. And y'all sitting up here beating and attacking on a black woman. That's
Oh
in
man.
power. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, that's not a joke.
Y'all should be ashamed of yourself.
That is a literal quote from her to defend herself is that she's a black woman and y'all should be ashamed of yourself. That's all she's got.
Okay, I got a question for you. If you're the person whose job is typing up the transcript of the hearing, how do you type that? Just asking.
Y'all. Wow.
Y'all should be ashamed of y'allself.
Well, I call her the trap mayor. Everyone else calls her the super mayor. She showed up at a town council meeting dressed up as who's the Spikes? What's his first name?
Takio?
No, darn it. Now I can't think of nothing but that big man. Jesus, he hit me hard. Listen. He was passenger 57. What's that man's name?
Wesley Snipes?
Snipes, not Spikes. Thank you. Wesley Snipes. She went to a city council member meeting dressed as Wesley Snipes, playing the song from the movie Juice. Do you remember Wesley Snipes in Juice? He was a straight drug lord. I mean, a drug fiend from the 80s, baby. He was hardcore.
Yeah, he sure enough was.
And that was after the recall had been overturned by her lawyer's litigiousness because they forgot to dot an I or something. I don't know. Some paperwork wasn't done proper, but they had the recall vote. They had the votes. They voted to get her happy ass out of there. And then she went, you didn't put the date down properly. Do it again.
I feel like we've got an open competition between Fannie Willis and the crazy mayor chick to see who can be more ghetto in a public hearing.
Oh no. Tiffany has
yo. If y'all tell me it's a G, y'all gonna get $1,000. I don't do my friends like that. Exactly what Fannie was saying.
And here's the thing. This chick here, she doesn't even, well, I'll let him say it. We're right there.
That's how she actually responded to the previous criticism before this letter was issued by the bank, which again was issued on February 14th, just a couple of days ago from the time that I'm recording and hope to release this video, which just goes to show you how out of control this person is and how power mad she is and how much she does not care about the taxpayers, even though she says she's the only one doing work for them and all her vacations were to support them and show her love for.
She went to Atlanta, stayed at the Four Seasons. She went to, I think, LA, Austin, and New York and met the president because she is such a gangster mayor that she's doing such a great job that Biden specifically wanted to talk to her because why?
I'm glad you brought up the subject of vacations because that was another thing that jumped out at me with Fannie, even more than her backward dress. Was that so So here you have a big city district attorney who is actively engaged in the prosecution of a former president of the United States, in addition to her many other responsibilities that I assume a person has in an office like that, and the person she has hired to be her lead prosecutor in her attempt to take down the former president of the United States, and they go on 5 vacations together in 6 months.
Oh, it's a very stressful case.
How many vacations does a district attorney need to take in 1 year exactly? And who does her work while she's gone? I know we shouldn't ask questions like this. It's racist.
Yeah. You should be supporting the strong black woman in a position of power who's so oppressed that she managed to become.
Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves attacking a black woman this way.
Y'all's is black.
Yours is black too.
I can't do this. I can't do that one. If I do that one, I'm sure we will. Because of
y'all should be ashamed of yourselves.
No, sir. I'm not going down that rabbit hole right now. You go ahead. I'll do the Southern Baptist.
Y'all be threatened by a strong, powerful woman of color.
What don't need no man, apparently.
Who don't need no man for nothing.
Except that one to take me on vacation.
Yes.
And then I'll pay
and
him back.
And she's even putting words. I mean, first she says that the guy is impotent and can't get it up, which I'm sure he really appreciated that.
He don't care.
No, we didn't have sex because his pathetic little dick wouldn't get hard.
I feel like you're the type of person to tell a woman that she couldn't handle both inches. I'm sorry. I promised I wasn't going to.
And then as if that's not enough humiliation, she says, "Oh yeah, one time he said to me, the only thing a bitch can do for me is make me a sandwich."
I'm sorry. I just flashed back to the Barbies all making their kids sandwiches and beers.
But apparently you really enjoyed riding the hobby horse with this dude for some reason, even though you're trying so hard to run down his masculinity. Seems like this thing went on for quite a few years. Maybe those kickbacks were just that enjoyable. Who knows?
Dude,
maybe all the cruises were that much fun.
It's another batteries not included reference. I'm sorry. I got distracted. Squirrel.
Oh, you're taking another vacation. Is that right? It's been 3 weeks since the last one. You must be exhausted.
Absolutely. We can't do it. I mean, this is the most powerful, scariest orange man we've ever encountered. As a blue man, I can respect him.
It's true. He is a unique threat to our democracy. And in order to do battle with a man like this, you need to take a 2-week vacation at least twice a month.
Twice a month. Be there on Thursday the 7th for 27 minutes.
Yes.
You're ready.
You try and do battle with a bad orange man like this, and you tell me if you're able to put your clothes on the right way forward.
I still say it was Monica Lewinsky. I think she was like taking down the freaking allegedly.
Well, it was. I mean, there's one of several things that might have happened. Like, because let's start off from the baseline of she's up in her office, she's watching this on TV, and she's not presentable for public consumption. She's wearing like, t-shirts and sweats or whatever.
Yeah. Right. She came
but Wade shits the bed so badly and makes her look like such a corrupt sack of shit that she decides, God damn it, I got to get down there. I got to get on this stand. I got to fix this. And obviously this pink getup is the only thing she has on hand that she's able to jump into, and she jumps into it backwards. And here's the crux of our investigation.
I just don't see it though, dude. I mean, I can get showing up to the place not dressed properly. I could even like, okay, something happened on the way and she was late. So she went and put on the other dress or whatever, right? She stole
there's some point at which she's putting this thing on backward and she realizes it's on backward and she just zips it up and says, this is what we're going with. and
Did we
and it
check
could
in with
be,
the receptionist to see if they were missing their dress?
yeah, who knows?
Did she
And,
just clump
and
somebody in the bathroom until steal somebody's dress? Just like I've got to get
but
in
I
there
can
right.
I can picture whoever the 3 or 4 staffers are who are in the room looking at each other and sort of silently saying, "Do we tell her she's got her dress on backwards, or do we just not say anything because she will bite our heads off and fire us, and we will incur her wrath, and we don't want to do that. So let's just go let her do her thing and go out there with her fucking dress on backward and see what happens." Because it's got to be one of the two, doesn't it?
I don't know, man. Okay, let's try to get outside the box here. Because whoever it was that Monica Lewinsky that dress, she was definitely in the box with it. That was a stretch. I apologize. I'm not on my A game. I think it's time for me to prepare for the last bit. No, we get to talk about Soldier Boy. That's going to be a good part. I want to be good for that. Cool. All right, Soldier Boy. Let's do that part.
Yeah, we can talk about Soldier Boy all day long if you want. That little kid is amazing, man.
Dude. Okay. So I popped up and I was like scrolling through. I don't even remember. I think I was on Tubi or something. And I'm just like ka-chunka, chunka, chunka, chunka. And Soldier Boy lands right between the tank movie, the Russian import White Tiger, and T-34. Right. And I was like, that is a weird place to put a movie about a kid, you know? And I hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
And I've seen everything else. So I clicked it and I went and got me a cup of coffee. And when I come back in, this kid was crawling through the woods, like talking to hedgehogs and stuff. And I went, whoa, I missed something. Hold on. So I restarted it and my coffee got cold while I was watching it because I just couldn't look away. I couldn't understand a word they were saying. I did not really feel like the translation was all that terribly effective. And yet here I am following this story absolutely flawlessly. I could have written the dialogue myself. I didn't.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because it's not difficult to see what's going on just from the visuals.
So the editing in this film is like butter. Whoever it was that did it is a tactile genius. The person who did the set pieces, not all of them are flawless, and some of it's kind of hokey, but at the same time, it's effective and it does the job.
Yeah, I thought it was a really great, cute, inspiring story until after it ended, and I read up, I looked up the fate of the actual little kid, and it turned out he died when he was like 32 years old because he had been like drinking vodka and chain smoking cigarettes since he was 5.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that happens when you're a Russian soldier. What do you do?
I wasn't going to bring that one up, but yeah, I'm really glad you did. I thought that was a bit dark for this one. Maybe brought it up at the end of the show anyway.
But yeah, I mean, to the extent that what is depicted in the movie is historical, it mostly is, because there really was this kid who got adopted as a regiment mascot by one of the Red Army units, and one of the commander actually officially adopted him, and it went down pretty much exactly like they show it.
And as far as any documentation I can find on it, it seems that the way he ended up being adopted by the regiment was there was him and a couple of other kids, and they put them on the truck, and the truck left the camp and got hit by a mine, and the next truck was overloaded, but they got all but one of them on there, and he was knocked out or having a heart attack or whatever. He was a little kid, just been hit with a mine. So they had him in the infirmary. He gets better. The next truck comes along, and just before it gets to the camp, it gets shelled. And then the next truck shows up during an actual firefight when the kid's actually running around giving people ammo. And then the next time he showed up, it was just always something stopped him from being able to be moved. Other people were moved through no problem. This kid would just fell through a crack. And after he was there for a week or two, hell, he's a veteran. He's been crawling the same trenches I've been crawling. Get that kid a uniform and some epaulets as a stat immediately. And they all, every single man out there would salute him. And they called him the little general because
Yeah, and what's the line he says to the one guy he's in the foxhole with? He says, "It's okay, the bomb won't find me. I'm too small."
I'm too small. The bombs can't find me. And
Yep.
and homie's like, that makes no sense. But the kid's already grabbed it and hauled it. And he's like,
Yeah,
that's not how
the
that
kid's
works.
done this much already. Fuck, who the fuck am I to say anything about it?
But I mean, on the flip side, homie did pretty much I mean, he gangsta as it can get, dude. Like he crawled right into the middle of one of the worstest little areas of World War II on the Eastern Front and crawled right back out the other side, only to come out the other side as a propagandized Russian hero. And that's essentially what killed him, is his fame and fortune. I mean, he went on tour, he did war bonds and all that stuff, just like ours did. But in his case, it didn't go well. He did not do peacetime.
Right, and
well.
you can see that evolution slowly happen during the course of the film without anybody coming out and saying it, because at first he's doing all these great deeds, and the only people who notice are the guys in the battalion. But slowly, you get propaganda photographers and reporters showing up. First it's one, and then it's a few, and then it's a few more, and then he's a hero to the nation by a certain point.
Right. Sorry. I saw a piece of the Marvels bit and I got scared. I know it's out there and it bothers me.
It's over, Darben.
I got a bit of an update on my truck. The truck that I hated so much was totaled. It will no longer be harming people or upsetting me when I see it ride by, which is good. That's excellent. I'm happy to hear it. The kid's fine. Everybody that was in it's fine. Seems it happened during a biblical rainstorm, and he called me up not long afterwards and was like, "Oh yeah, that thing's not going to be hurting nobody no more." So apparently he is about fed up with it as I was. I drove that thing for 11 years, dude. Screw that thing.
Well, that's a happy bit of news, I think.
I guess. I mean, it's like a cursed item has been eliminated by the side of good, I guess.
It beats the hell out of when your co-host makes you watch the Marvels.
Oh my God, don't remind me. We're not quite there yet, dude. We still got T-34. We still got T-34 to talk about, right?
T-34 is pretty cool. I like T-34.
It is.
Have you seen we're not supposed to say that we like Russian things, but I think T-34 is a pretty good flick.
I mean, damn it, if it's good, I don't want to mince any words about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's a good movie, it's a good movie, and I don't.
Yeah,
care
and it's interesting to juxtapose these two Russian movies that we're talking about, because the first one is firmly grounded in actual history, but the other one, T-34, is basically just a video game fantasy that's completely made up.
That's exactly what it is. It's loosely based off of a story that was told by a guy. That's basically it. There was this one soldier who apparently recounted something that supposedly happened once that no records exist for and no one can verify, but it was put in a newspaper at one point in time that a captured T-34 escaped out of the hole and just wreaked havoc, and that's never verified on any angle that I was able to find. But it's a good story. Yet again, it's
the big visual trademark of the picture is that they do a lot of super slow motion kind of Matrix style wraparound shots of the tank artillery when it's being fired.
Time. Yeah,
that's
a technical term for it, bullet time,
and it's a cool effect and a good achievement.
Well, it's not just
and a good visual signature around which to build a film.
It's not just the effect that's cool. It's where he chooses to use it. You have to consider, like you said, it's a video game fantasy. It's like a fanfic of a video game. And so this bullet time introduction is done in like some of the best little scenes. Like there's this point where one of the tank's turrets is damaged. And so the driver is responsible for aiming the weapon, but his eyes have been damaged. and so he can't see. And so the spotter is calling out movements to the driver, and the gunner is aiming the gun based off of that and altering the movements with his 2 degree of traverse that he currently had while the spotter's trying to fix the tank. And it's absurd. It's just the right amount of absurd. It's just the kind of a one shot in a million that works. It never misses.
Yeah,
you.
and they use that visual effect in a really effective way, I think, to illustrate just how narrow the margin is in tank combat between a hit and a miss. Because it might be 2 rounds getting fired at the same time that just barely glance off each other, and one turns into a hit and one turns into a miss, and that's how narrow your margins are.
Exactly. There's one scene where it's a guy that's not even important to the film. He's just some dude who helps work on tanks, and he's driving some tank part from one broke down tank to another one when a bad guy from World War II shows up with his tank, starts taking shots at him, and he's driving this old pulpwood truck across the field. And at one point in time, he tells the dude with him, he's like, I want you to watch that gun, and the second it stops, you tell me. And he's like, okay. And as soon as he stops, he snatches it sideways and does that bullet time through the cab, and you get to see both the guys with their eyes wide open, just sitting there frozen, knowing, because you feel it go by, right? Like that thing just sucked your head off.
And you get to see the number one evil Nazi guy take one right in the face.
Oh, that's beautiful. That was an excellent scene too, because there's nothing left, dude.
I know. And we follow it all the way, like it right in the window, and it misses this guy, and it misses this guy, and it misses these 2 guys, and evil Nazi number 1. It's right between his fucking eyes.
The scene where it shoots through the farmhouse, where he sneaks up on the German tank and pops the shot through the farmhouse and just turns it into a 14-ton roadblock there. White Tiger is another one of those like critically fictional movies, and I would be happy to discuss that next week if we can find it. I'll be looking for it, and I watched it a while back, but it's the one that is not Japanese or Chinese or whatever the other one is. There's one that's about like a Tong fighter who's running through the Japanese underworld or whatever. And the other one is about
an American movie that's from a similar vein is Fury, Brad Pitt from 2014, I believe it is, where he plays a tank commander.
White Tiger is a little bit more bombastic, right? Fury is excellent, and it has a certain flavor to it that I think only Brad Pitt could have brought to it. But let's do our movie thing. Let's change the actor's
and Shia LaBeouf is strangely excellent in that picture too, which I was surprised by. I
am actually a Shia LaBeouf fan, and not as an actor, but as an artist. He is one of my favorite creators in history. He inspired a lot of the content that I actually put up, because you remember the Just Do It meme?
Just do it. Yes.
Every time, and this is what gets people strikes, is that meme. Every time I think, I could do that, I hear him scream, just do it, in my head. And I either do it or don't, but I hear it every time. And I can do nothing but respect that man. Even if he's done a bajillion absurd other things, he has produced more motivational speaking in a single shooting than any other actor or artist in history.
Well, and just in his feat of uniting people in mockery against the thing he was doing, he created one of the greatest technical achievements in the history of the internet. When people on 4chan managed to triangulate the location of that flag so they could go and burn it. It was one of the greatest things ever, dude. That's
in vengeance for this horror that you have inflicted upon me. I will give you your penance. I shall charge you your penance.
Smoking Otter says we should get you to watch all the Marvel movies.
I have no problem with that. I've done it once. We can do it again. If we can if you take a vacation from work, we will sit down and do it in a 60-hour stretch. I got coffee and time, brother.
Yeah, it's pretty easy going once you get into phase 4. Then it gets to be kind of a slog when you have to start watching all
Okay,
the fucking
no.
Disney Plus content.
I have seen every episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000. We could do this shit, dude. We could do it. I've been practicing my whole life for this. I have deconstructed movies since I was working at the movie store.
No, the movies are one thing, but the Disney Plus series are I don't think I've made it through any of the last 4 of those.
Oh my God, Moon Knight.
Oh God, yeah.
How do you not even be the hero of your own superhero franchise? I'm sorry, that's a totally different conversation. We are going.
Yeah, I think I got to about episode 4 in Moon Knight, and that was the last one that I got past the halfway point of.
I didn't even.
All the rest of them since then, it's been like 1 episode, 2 episode. I can't do this. Bye.
Oh God.
Like She-Hulk. How far did you get with She-Hulk?
I didn't. Dude, I turned on the very first episode, made it to the point where she made it very clear that she was a militant fourth wave feminist, and that, no, my opinion was not only not needed, but completely unwanted. And I tuned out and went and watched Loki again.
Yeah, that's a show where I would sooner. I don't think it's exaggerating things to say I would sooner murder myself than actually watch that show all the way to the end. That's how bad it was. I think I got into the 2nd episode.
Your penance, what you will have to do is you will have to watch Black Panther, the first one, because I believe
that picture got a best picture Oscar nomination.
I think it was deserved. I have a very unpopular opinion about that movie, and I think most people completely misunderstand the purpose of it. Very much like Barbie, it's a very subversive film. You have to look at it. You have to have a little.
I know the angle you're going down, because there are some people who view it as a subversive critique of open borders.
Oh, but there's so much more to it, though. All right, watch the damn movie, and we'll do it next week. I could probably sit and go wax philosophical about 2 hours on this topic, because it includes the early Black Panther comics, the later Black Panther comics, and their use in the movie style that was specifically presented. Why do you think there was a single token white guy savior? Literally a white savior who sacrifices himself for Wakanda, and in so doing absolves the sins of all the white people in the world.
I just thought it was great that so many people in 2018 thought Wakanda was an actual place.
That's just so much better, though. That just makes it all chewy and chunky. You get to chew that down.
It does. It adds a whole other layer of chewy chunkiness to it.
Do you have the email that was sent to you that I want you to read?
The one where you told me how much you don't like me?
Yes.
Yes.
That is. We're going to do that thing. And while we're doing that thing, I'm going to prep my brain and intestines so that my intestine doesn't burst into my skull to kill me, so that I can't continue this. I hate the sun for not burning out. Man, I hate the planet for continuing to spin. I am angry at the weak force.
This gentleman sent me an email this morning at 5:51 a.m. my time that says, "This is just to remind you that I hate everything about you making me watch the Marvels."
I forgot about that one. Sorry.
Oh, here's an earlier one. "I'm watching the Marvels now, and I'm hating you for doing this to me."
No, get the good one.
Is there a better one than that?
There's got to be a better one in there, man. I wrote one out where every other phrase was "I hate you."
"The black girl has butt pads to make her booty flat. Looks like she has a book down her pants." I'm glad you brought up asses, because I want to talk about Brie Larson's ass. No.
Wait, hold on. Is it possible to have a discussion with something that is non-existent? That's like discussing zero.
You raise an extremely fair and salient point. So I want to acknowledge that right at the outset. But let's comparing Brie Larson in this picture to a few years ago in Captain Marvel. There is at least 30 pounds less of Brie Larson, and it turns out that when you shrink the rest of her and leave her ass the same size, it almost looks like she sort of has an ass. In fact, there are actually a few rather long, luxurious Brie Larson ass shots in this picture, to the point where if it was a male director, all the feminists would freak out about the male gaze. The point being, is that really Brie Larson's ass? Or did they staple a CGI ass onto her to make it look better than she looked in the last picture?
They were able to put, if you take a look at every time there's a long shot of her ass, two things become immediately obvious. One, anytime she's beside the black girl or the mixed girl or the oh my God, they made her white on the inside. I'll get to that. I'm sorry. Anytime they're shot together, the black girl is always wearing this weird frumpy suit, and Brie is always like 2 steps closer. And I swear it looks like this woman has a book shoved down the back of her freaking jumpsuit. It's wild. And then in other scenes,
and it's like, I know what you mean about her suit, because like her suit is white all the way down to the waist level, and then it gets black. Like they're pointedly trying to minimize her big black ass.
And I don't see the reason, except maybe Brie said something about it. I mean, she's very standoffish.
Yeah, I don't know, because let's make no mistake. Whatever her guy, I forget her name, Tiona Paris, I think is her name.
Yeah,
she's got enough booty for both of them. So yeah, I could picture Brie having a complex about her non-existent white girl ass and actually raising a stink about that. Who knows? Maybe they spent $60 million in post-production just fixing the ass problem.
I wonder. Well,
stranger things have happened.
I want to start off by saying some good things about this movie. There are 2 funny jokes in the whole movie that are above like 4th grade level. Everything else
I counted 1.
Well, okay. You are correct. The other joke is a 4th wall break that's only funny because it actually made it into the script. It's the herding cats line. Your plan is to herd cats? Exactly. And that's hilarious. Regardless of how you look at it, that is a funny joke, but only because it's actually in the script. Had you put it in the script as a legitimate line and meant for people to take it seriously, clearly you're not supposed to take this movie seriously. Did you see the freaking
you can't take this movie seriously.
The montage. Their training montage damaged nothing, killed no one, and not one of them fell into the water.
They were doing fucking jump rope. They were jump roping.
See that double Dutch shit ain't easy. You got to be in sync with some folks to be doing that. I'm just saying, like, I'm trying to be positive here, man. I'm trying to be positive. Okay, so the black chick did very, very, very well. I really liked her acting. She did as well as could be expected given the circumstances she was handed. The young
girl magic.
It's a terrible script. The editing is horrible. The plots are nothing but holes. I mean, every single soul in this movie has plot armor. Nothing was harmed in the making of this film. Not even
I'm going to tell you what my single favorite thing is about this movie. Is the fact that none of the people making it had any idea they were ripping off the plot from Spaceballs.
Oh my God. All right. So my brother called me in the middle of watching this. He called me in the middle of watching this and he asked me what I was watching. And I said, I kind of think I might be watching Spaceballs, but I'm not sure. And he's like, I was like, yeah, they're fixing to draw all the oxygen off of this planet to go feed another planet. I have a strong suspicion she's going to restart the sun with the power of her vagina. He said,
Which actually winds up happening.
He says, I can't talk to you anymore, and hung up on me and sent me a text instead. Now, that was the most intelligent decision he could have made, because I would have continued speaking on this film. Dude.
Yep. Captain Marvel brings a star back to life with nothing but vagina power.
I mean, not if that. I mean, she just flies into it and poof, it's working. Like, literally, this entire movie could have been completely bypassed.
Before she does that, they even stand around talking about it as if they are the filmmakers themselves. Like, is that something I know how to? Can I do that? Yeah, sure. I think you can do that. We'll just go do it.
Do you remember the dude telling her black girl magic? The black girl magic.
Black girl magic.
Hears the words black girl magic and immediately knows how to fly.
Yes, because that is how black girl magic works. You racist.
They went to okay. I'm sorry. There is so much wrong here. All right. Captain Marvel has been tooling around for the past 2 years, floating in her freaking spaceship, doing absolutely nothing but petting a freaking cat and drinking wine. That is the implication that I got.
Yeah, she is a big time single wine mom with no kids.
Cat is not a cat.
I guess she can't be a wine. Well, she's a wine cat mom. Let's put it that way.
I have a question. Why is it that
she's one of those women? She's one of those women who has cats and pretends they're kids.
Why does the Flurkin give birth to hundreds of eggs if it's been alone on a ship with Captain Marvel?
And why do the eggs all look like human brains?
That's just for creepy's sake. I have no problem with that. I thought that was kind of one of the more interesting aspects of the film, was the fact that those things look creepy enough that your gut response would be to destroy them.
Yeah, the one joke in the picture that actually made me laugh a little bit was when they said, "Please let the Flurkins eat you. You'll be fine."
Yeah, I'll be walking around calmly holding a cat like it's a freaking AR-15 going, that was for your own good. I swear to God.
Amazingly, that was kind of a cute little sequence for about 20 seconds.
But the thing is, it's overdone. It's played off far too long. And the whole time it's going down, you have Samuel L. Jackson there. Okay, the other funny joke that I pointed out, when all of the power goes down and the ship's crashing and everything's gone to hell, one of the Muslim guys starts praying, and he looks at the Muslim guy and says, "Are you praying?" And he says, yeah. And he stops. And then Samuel L. Jackson goes, "Well, don't stop. We need all help we can get." And that's yet another joke that is only funny because it's in the movie. It's in the script. They actually wrote that into the script. And it's also another fourth wall break joke, because as the viewer, you are being directly pandered to, but through both them praying in whatever language he's praying in, and Samuel L. Jackson saying amen at the end of it, which, you know, as I understand, it's a little bit offensive.
Yeah, I think I made it into the 3rd episode of the Ms. Marvel series, and then I turned it off because I felt like I was going to wind up on a domestic terrorism watch list. So I'm not on a list. There's something wrong with the system.
Damn right. There is probably okay. Being nice. Some of the scenes are absolutely beautiful. They are pretty. They are well done. The CGI is really well edited in most cases. Whenever all the kittens are eating people, that's just great. That's like, if only there was some danger involved, it would be interesting. Even
maybe if you had a villain.
The only villain in the place is right. She is correct. Captain Marvel is absolutely evil. She has destroyed a planet.
Yeah, but they gotta find somebody better than Tom Hiddleston's wife to play the antagonist, because that chick is an absolute disaster.
She's really hot though. Anyway, but she is an absolute. She has rightfully earned the name Annihilator by annihilating the Kree. She has placed herself in a position between the Kree and their rightful empire amongst the stars, which they have occupied for 1,000 years.
Because
So-
she is a white woman and does not understand her unwarranted privilege.
So her response to having, and I'm sure there's some series I'm missing out there that fills in the gap of where this chick got that freaking hippie stick that she runs around with.
Well,
I
isn't
missed-
that the same? Isn't that the same hammer that was formerly wielded by Ronan the Accuser? In the
Absolutely
first
not. The hammer
Guardians of
from
the
Ronan-
I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it is.
It can't be. It simply cannot be. There are two reasons that cannot be. And if I know anything, Disney is infallible, and so they wouldn't possibly retcon some stuff after they verified it. And I know for a fact that the hammer that Ronan used was destroyed so that they could take the stone. That happened in Guardians of the Galaxy, and so Ronan the Accuser has lost his hammer. It no longer exists. This is the remade scepter.
Was there wasn't the Infinity Stone in the Guardians movie inside
Yes.
the orb thingy, and not the hammer?
Yes. It was placed into the hammer by Ronan the Accuser.
Okay, I'll
That's
take
where
your
the
word for it.
Infinity Stone went. And the only
It's
reason
not a hill I want to die on.
it was destroyed. Pete took it. Quill, Star-Lord, took it and placed it in safekeeping, essentially. But also, and there's another reason. There's a second retcon to that particular story that states that particular Infinity Stone ended up with Loki going to the Time Association place.
Well,
is now
and even still, the question is begged: if the hammer no longer has an Infinity Stone in it, why does it have any power when this chick is wielding it?
Well, I think like that's what I was saying is where did her freaking rave stick come from? And did I miss something along the way when watching stuff trying to get to the point where I could watch the Marvels, because I feel like I missed some homework.
It's difficult to say when they expect you to have watched 35 episodes of several different god awful streaming series in order to understand what's happening in the movie you're trying to watch.
I mean,
But that's where we are now.
Okay. So the Spaceballs analogy is so freaking apt that it needs no further explanation on that point. That's the plot. They're going to still air from one planet to feed another. That's it. Okay. Since we've covered that, we are left with the discussion of the arrangement of scenes. I wonder, all right. I made a statement that this is what happens when a studio funds 4 films and then cuts the funding, and all 4 of the directors have to Rochambeau for the privilege of making the one film that's going to be permitted by the studio. And so,
I have an additional question that follows on from that, which is, to the best of our understanding, this thing winds up costing just about $300 million to produce when you encompassing principal photography and the reshoots. So the question is, how terrible was this movie if it took that much reshooting to get it to where it got?
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't that. It was the fact that they had planned to make multiple films, started filming multiple films, and then collapsed all of the crews down into one crew to make one film covering the entire breadth of what the plots of the 3 films were supposed to do. And they were left with a mad jumble of freaking editing nightmare to deal with.
And it wouldn't be the strangest thing that ever happened, because that's not unlike what's been happening over on the Star Wars side recently, the last few years, when it seems perfectly obvious that on a few different occasions they have taken what was supposed to be a movie script and padded it out with bullshit to make it into a 6 or 7 episode streaming series. The Obi-Wan series, the Ahsoka series, I think that's what both of those were.
All right. I draw the line at Ahsoka. Ahsoka made me mad. I am a Star Wars fanboy. I have an absolute wall, an entire freaking display case full of Star Wars memorabilia that dates all the way back to the birth of Star Wars itself. Because I am that much of a fanboy. It's not that I love the movies, it's that I really liked Boba Fett. And as a byproduct of trying to get specifically Mandalorian stuff, I got a whole bunch of Vader and all kinds of Star Wars stuff because people saw a little bit of Star Wars stuff and was like, hey, he's collecting it, you know, but they got it wrong and they just kept bringing me stuff and I kept putting it up. And now I have this massive wall of like everything under the sun you can imagine from Star Wars. And all I'm really interested in is the Mandalorian thing, and they ruined that right before my eyes. And I still had a tiny kernel of faith that something useful would come out of this madness. And it was
so good to start out with, and they just went and wrecked it so quickly.
It's just Lone Wolf and Cub. There's an old Japanese series called Lone Wolf and Cub. It is literally a rewriting of every single scene in that show. Go watch Lone Wolf and Cub, the first 3 episodes, and you'll get the first season of The Mandalorian. Anyway,
you might even say the show was really good right up until the moment they fired Gina Carano.
That's pretty much it. Whenever they pulled enough, yeah. No, we'll get to that in another episode.
Well, if you don't have the correct opinions, we will cut your ass loose like nobody's business.
When where was I at? Oh yeah, no. When she was standing on the surface of that freaking ship, batting freaking turbo lasers back at starfighters, I right before it happened, when they took off and they got taken off, and I was like, I paused the freaking show, looked my wife straight in the face, and I said, if this woman climbs on the outside of this ship and defeats starfighters in a freighter using her rave sticks, I will not watch another moment of this show. She's like, it's not going to be that bad. And I hit play and we ended that episode and we went to the next episode and she climbed out on the outside of it. And I did not say a word. I love my wife. I know whenever to stop. I know when to shut up. I just stood up and went and started working on my truck. I didn't say a word. I just left the room. She didn't watch another episode. She finished that episode and came and got me and was like, it's over. And I went back in and we watched some Stargate for a little while.
Yeah. When the rave sticks of death come out, it's all over after that.
I mean, but here's the thing. There is full on, no joke, no exaggeration, 40, 50, 100 books in the canon of Star Wars. There are 500 that have been decanonized, and in not a single one of the 20, 30 years of history has a single Jedi ever proposed that a lightsaber could stop a turbo blaster.
Yes, and there was all those decades of material in the extended universe. And what did Kathy Kennedy do the first day she owned the brand? She killed all of it. Like first day, just like Joe Biden stopping the fucking border wall. That's the first thing she did the first day. All of the expanded universe is fucking dead.
Stargate Universe, are you silly? Come on, man. That's the best episode. That's the best season. It's the best version. How many Stargates have you watched?
I'm not very literate on Stargate, actually.
Oh, brother. Hey, if you haven't watched, what have you watched?
I've watched a little bit of the original Stargate, I would say. Okay.
That's it?
Oh, like wow. when Richard Dean Anderson was on there?
Oh, sure. I get you. Yeah. Stargate Atlantis is better than Stargate SG-1, but only because they had the experience to do it, and that's it. They had all of the funding, all of the necessary capability to put a decent show on the map. They came out with the intention of doing that with the full support of the entire studio behind them and some access to some features that the original show never had access to, like And by the time they get around to Stargate Universe, and this is why I really, really, really like Stargate Universe. Maybe it's because I'm a freaking boomer, but the plot for Universe is just as good as the other plots, but most of the older generation don't like it because it starts off with a video game. There's this autistic kid playing a video game, and he swears there's more to it than everybody else knows because of something he noticed. And he keeps working on it until he cracks the code. And he cracks it and realizes, wait, there's a message here. It's not just a code. It's actually a request. I'm supposed to go to a website and enter in these freaking numbers on this website. And he goes over there and blah, 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 and Jack shows up on the front doorstep, knocking on the door. And he's like, sir, you need to come with us. He's like, not me. I don't need to come with you. And he's in full Colonel gear. He's in full regalia. And homie has just solved the problem on how to open an 8th chevron on the disk, which means we can now aim for things that are not even in our universe. So more properly named Stargate Multiverse, but then they get trapped on the ship and everything goes sideways. And right after that, Lou Diamond Phillips comes on board. And there's this point where the show jumps the shark and everything falls apart. And it's when they start trying to get people to play other people, where you're supposed to act like someone that's on the ship. And at some point, Lou Diamond Phillips is supposed to act like a woman. And he flat refused. He flat refused. He just went out and did his version of it. And that was what they ended up going with. And after that, it just went down the drain. That show had no heart after that.
And as for Marvel, we've only got one Marvel picture coming out this year, and it's Deadpool 3 or Deadpool and Wolverine, whatever you want to call it, whatever the title of it is now. Then after that, you know, the Deadpool movies are kind of their own thing. I don't think this, even if this picture that's coming out is extremely well received, I don't think it's going to do anything to drag the mainline MCU out of the swamp of awfulness that it currently finds itself in. I mean,
but it will staunch the blood flow and keep them from dying soon enough.
It might at least make a few bucks, which is about the best they can hope for at this point.
That's all they can hope for, is to keep from bleeding out before.
Yeah, it might be a number of years before we even have a full accounting of exactly how much money the Marvels actually lost.
No, you're looking at this the wrong way, dude. Think about it this way. How many different creative houses does Disney own? How many different properties? How many different IPs? Hundreds. Maybe thousands.
And they'll burn each one to the ground before they're finished.
But they will sell it when they are done. They will sell it, and they will sell the ones.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of people fantasizing recently about George Lucas buying Star Wars back. And the funny part about that is he could probably buy it back for less than he sold it to him for, because that's how much damage has been done to that brand.
The second time he has accomplished that. He'd done this previously when he sold it to Industrial Light and Magic. It was, I don't know, worth half what it was when he bought it back from them, and then sold it to Disney for 3 times what he paid for it. That man made out like a bandit. And if he can pull off, or his estate, I would even give Marks a win for an estate win, purchasing back the Star Wars franchise, and if nothing else, the Star Wars franchise from Disney, then I would call that a win, even with all the trash that's happened, because we would immediately start getting decent movies out of them.
Yeah, and we don't have to pretend the prequels were good movies. in order to put it in proper perspective, how bad the sequel trilogy is. I mean, there are 6 bad movies. Let's just call it what it is. They are bad in different ways. The prequel trilogy, that at least was, they at least were pictures that were made by the original creator of the saga, and they have that going for them.
Clearly, you watched a different movie than I did. When Darth Jar Jar was manipulating the freaking dude, Oh my God, he's a master of the drunken force. He utilizes Sidious's absolute desire for power to facilitate his own rise to. All right, we'll get to that next week, folks. I'm not.
Misa, think you sounding like Big Doo Doo.
Whatever you got to tell yourself. You talk us out, and I'll worry about the rest of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you ever so much for joining us here on the Blast Radius. We sure do appreciate it when you come along for this little ride of frivolity that we take every Sunday evening, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, and then end exactly an hour and a half later. We do hope you have a delightful and edifying week, a pleasant tomorrow, and a great day after that, and we will see you next Sunday. Until next time, see you later. Get off our lawn.